Welcome to working with Affinity and outputting as spot colors, a spot color file. In this case, if we look up here in the document, just 2 spot colors. Now there's a few little tricks here. One is that this little graphic has also got a little graphic on the top right, a spot representing spot and that little triangle. If I just control click on this, we can see it's been overprinted. Now normally it's not, it'll be like this, but I wanted to overprint it. So what I'm going to do here is with this same file, I'll just go back and I'll turn it back on. Now we can also rename colors, and I'll cover this if you get any color issues later on, just so you know how to do it. But for the time being, let's see how this output. Press quality PDF, and I'll just click on that to bring it up. And there it is, and hold it, what's going on here? Now I've actually gone into the print quality, or print settings. Now you can move these around anywhere you want, but just use print settings and that'll give you these tools. All I want is the output, and you see what I've done is simulation output. So Acrobat's still very handy to test things. Nothing like getting it printed and it's on the press and it's wrong. You need to see it before it goes there, what it looks like. Additionally, we've got our spot colors to test here as well. So if I go and turn all my process colors off, we don't want any CMYK, nothing changes, it's all there. If I turn my spots off, it's all gone. So I'm only using spots, and a good way to test that for sure. Another little handy feature is we can also just simulate, not just overprinting, but also if I click that on, just the color paper, because paper is not white, it'll give you a bit of an idea when you're just testing your print simulation. Anyway, I'll just turn that off for now, and I'll turn this back off. So that's just outputting it. So Acrobat's still very handy to check. You certainly otherwise need to know what you're doing. And let's just go back and just have a look at the file, and we're going to get ready to go in just a minute. Okay, so let's put this together. Now here's my file, and I've got my robot here. Now, as you can see, this is grey TIFF, and this is not grey, this is color, right? Well, actually it is grey, but essentially if it's a grayscale TIFF and only using 8-bit, see how you can select it and change the color just with the colors that you want within your spots. So let's start putting that together. Now, instead of working directly with Pixel, just to keep it at the sizes I want, I'm just going to open a new file, which is the full color file of the robot. So let's go and just open this up, and robot, here it is, and I'm opening it. It knows it's a TIFF, and here it is, it's a pixel based file. So all we need to do is, we're working with this document. I'm going to go to the document, my pixel document, and I'm just going to go to setup document. So I'm just working with the size that I want, but of course I want to get it the right format. Speaking of size, here's my sizes here. So make sure you do put it to the right size to fit your document. Not too big, not too small. And that's about right for what I want, so fantastic. So let's see, we want color, we don't want RGB, we want to go to 8-bit, a grayscale 8-bit, just one channel. And so that's good. Let's see, is anything else down here? Well, I might also change it from being embedded. I like to work with link files, keeps the vector file a little bit smaller, and we basically just place it in there. When we output it as a PDF, it will be all embedded into one then. But work the way you want, but I kind of work this way just because I'm used to working this way, and I think it's a little bit easier. Nonetheless, here's my file, and as I mentioned, up here we just want a profile to go with this. It's grayscale 8-bit. I'm just going to stay with D50. Okay, I think that's about right here. So let's just go OK and see what happens. Here it is, a grayscale image. I'm going to export it now, and I want to export it as a TIFF. So File, come down to Export, because TIFF, as you bring it in, will make it adjustable for color, which is exactly what we want. A little bit different from working with Adobe, where you can bring in a Photoshop natural file, PSD file, but this one we're going to stay with a TIFF. Okay, so TIFF, RGB 8-bit, TIFF grayscale 8-bit. Well, that's kind of what I want for this one. and you'll see that it's changed the pixel format to 8-bit here. And let's see, anything else to change now? I think that's pretty good, and we're good to go. 8-bit TIFF, and let's just export it. So I'll give it a name, and I think I might just go 8. It's going to save it as the TIFF, but just save away, and there you go. So let's just go and have a look at this. It should be, oh, 6, 8 it should have been, but anyway, that'll be fine. So I'm just going to just open this with preview. I'm on a Mac, so I can just open with here, just preview, and there's my file. It's just grey because it's transparent, so it just always shows a grey background. Now that's exactly what I want, and here it is, apart from the name, which I might just change it to 8, just to remember that it's 8-bit. So let's get on to the next stage, and we'll bring it in and do our graphics. Okay, so here's the finished files I had before, but just as we start getting into this, we're going to create a new file. I just want to look up here a little bit, just to explain what this is. So I'm just going to quickly bring this up here. Now here's just a snippet of this area, and just so I can just talk about the areas in here mainly, just this point here, little arrow, this means it's global. Okay, over on this one over the top here, if I bring this one over here, this means it's overprinted. So I'll just go over print. So when you see these graphics, you know what it means. And of course, just a little spot color here is a spot. Now these graphics on the side, this is where this is where you can actually add in your global color by clicking on that, and basically just add in a color just here. Okay, not a G. Okay, so let's get into this and we'll start putting this together. I'm going to just go through and create a new vector file and bring my graphics into one. So file, I'll go new, and we're going to set this up as we want. Now whatever page size you want, well, I'm just going to stay with A4, so that's good, and 300 dpi. Now I know the image was a little bit less than 300 dpi. It's probably good to have saved that as that size, but you get a good idea when you're working with pixels and the image to know that it's going to work. And the image I used was fine, but probably better to always work with the 300 dpi at the size that it's going to be, for print anyway. So anyway, color format in this document, as you can see, you can change things here. Now I'm just going to leave this as RGB, and that's where I want it to be at the moment. And I'm working with Adobe RGB 1998. So, but down here we've got prefer embedded. I'm going to go link, just like I mentioned before. And if I come down to here, I want some margins. Don't maybe need them, but just so we can. So I've got margins here. Just click outside of that so we can see those come in. And what else do I need? I'm going to have a 3mm bleed in this document. Now we can set these up later, but I'm just going to do it now, and we're going to be good to go and don't need to use anything else except for go OK. So we should get our new file coming up there, and we should have had bleed in there. And you're saying, hold it, this is the wrong way up, unless you wanted A4 portrait. So essentially just come back to your document, and any time we can just go and change that. And of course I want to go just landscape here. So if I just come down here again, bleed, for some reason I didn't get that before, so I'm just going to put 3mm bleed, and great, and just go OK. So now we've got our 3mm bleed, and we've got our document, and we're ready to go. We've got our colors up here, and we're going to add our global colors, our spot colors, in just shortly. Right, let's get our graphics together. I'm just going to put a background image just to begin with, and I think I'm just going to make this very simple, and I'm going to go right up to the bleed here, and I'm just going to drag a bit of a background. And what you see is it just comes in with the layers here. So we can name it now, but rectangle, I think that's a pretty good name for me. In fact, I might even just come through and pull it up a little bit. If you wanted to do some corner effects, you can just click on this and you can actually just corner it in as well, one by one, which is quite effective. So I'm just going to undo that, and actually maybe to be a bit different, I might just do it on this one. So corner effects again, and let's just bring that corner in just to make it a bit interesting. Just because I can. I'm not going to worry about the color just at the moment. And I'm just going to get a little bit of type here. So type, see what I'm going to do, I'm going to come down to my type here, and artistic type or frame type. This is basically for text, this is for your headlines or major graphics. So I want my artistic type. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to click on this and just drag some type here. I think that'll be good, and just drag to get the size. And I'm just going to call that spot. Now perhaps it's a little bit big, so what I'm going to do is just drag that down to, I get it fitting just there. And I might just move it up just a little bit. See how I got lined up there. No, that's pretty good. And I'm just going to click on that and just option drag, just so I get two of them. And I'll just line them up, hold my shift key. And that will, yeah, that will do about there. Okay, so I've got my graphics, and let's see, what else do I want to bring in? I want to bring in my image. So I'm just going to come down and place it. Now, to place it, you can place it from up here, but I'm just going to use the toolbar. I'm in Vector, of course, and just place this graphic. And just click on that. So let's see, what did I want? Robot sending 8-bit, remember it's a TIFF, and I'm just going to place this in. And let's see, I can just click, but I'm just going to size it up here, just so I get it going to the size that I want. And I'm just going to actually go and save that. I think I'll call it Robot 2. And that's a great name, and I'm just going to save it there just for the time being. So we've got all our graphics in here. We've got no colors, but we have got black and white because we're using black. It's basically a color. So let's go and sort our colors out and put this together. Right, here is a whole bunch of colors. We're just in colors at the moment. Of course, we don't want any of these for what we're doing. What we're going to do is we're going to actually work with Pantone colors. And if you come down here, you'll see Pantone solid coated. Now we have coated and uncoated, and coated is basically a smoother or a glossy stock where you get very, very smooth colors on the top, where uncoated, like newsprint or letterpress type textured papers and stocks, which are great for doing things like business cards or in fact letterheads, that sort of thing. Okay, so I'm going to stay with solid coated, and then we get all these Pantone colors coming out. Now I'm just going to move this in here and look at that. Pantone colors, you can get all sorts, and you'll see the middle one there is basically coated. It's just a little bit glossier, where the uncoated is sort of more of a textured stock. But these are all the colors. Now it's really great to have your Pantone books, and I'll tell you what about Affinity, they have Pantone embedded within the system. I want to get, for my example, a nice red, a slightly deeper red. So what you can do is actually just go red 185 in this case, once you know the colors, and it'll give you all those colors around that neck of the woods, if you will. So I can just basically click on that and hold it. They've all disappeared. What's happened here? Be very careful once you have your color selected as a search, because then it stops any of them from coming through. So let me show you what happens here. If I just delete that, here's my global color. And you see it's a global color by that little graphic here, and it's a spot color, but it's not overprinted. Now the other thing I want is I want to name the colors. the colors that I'm actually using. So a good way to do that is I can just actually click on that, and here it is, it's actually changed that color as well by selecting onto that, being a global color. But I'm going to come down here and just within colors, in fact, just actually on the right hand side, if I just out of view at the moment, I'm just going to move this in so we can see it. Perhaps it makes it a little bit easier. So there's my spot colors again. So just from this one, I'm going to click on this one, and I'll come down here, and basically what it's actually, we can actually add your global colors from here as well. Change the appearance for number 1, which says show list, small, medium or large, and it just goes back to tiny little swatches. Personally, I like knowing what the color is, so just when the appearance here, I just click back on show list. Now the other thing you can do here as well is just do your overprint, as I mentioned before. I might not overprint for this particular one, but what I want to do is I want to work with the same name color I'm working with. So how do you do that? Well, I'm going to come into rename spot, and it actually gives me what the spot color is. So I'm going to just go and save that, and I'll go OK. And then I just come back in here and I go rename global color, and I'll just paste that in just so it makes easy sense to me. Now when we export this off as a PDF file or our separated colors, it will come up with this color, but for the sake of my global color, I want everything to be named. Makes it easier for me. Now you can also add your current color to a global color if it's not already in there. And this one is just adding the color, as I mentioned before. So here's our colors, and remember, just that graphic, if I want to make this particular color, if I just control click on it, I go over print, and there's that little print icon as I indicated before. But in my case, I don't want to overprint it this time. I just want to have it just as normal. So there's our first color. I'm just going to do 2 spot colors. Okay, so let's put our second color in. So I can just come back to my colors down here. Remember, we want solid coated colors, or it could be uncoated, but I'm just going to stay with solid for this. And I'm going to choose my second color. So this time I'm just going to scroll through and get a nice second color that something that's going to work with, but I'm just going to go off it visually. Remember, we can search right here, but this time I'm just going to grab something. 7405C. Now that'll be the color for me, and let's just add this one in here. So Pantone 7405C. So let's click on this, I think type, and if I click on that, it's actually saved the color. But if I come up from my colors right at the top here, so, and I'll come through here, and I'm going to go all the way back up to document, and if it's not loaded in, we can actually just load that color in from here, and there it is. So here's my second color. As I mentioned before, what you can do, we can see that it's global because of that icon. We've loaded in here as well, and it's got a spot, which is just perfect for what we want. So let's see, I'm going to just control click on this, and I'm just going to go rename, or rename spot color, and copy this one out. Easier to copy than remember. Go OK, and come back and just rename that. Rename global color. That's the one. And just paste that in, and OK. So we're sort of kind of good to go. So down here on the bottom one, I'm going to just go red here. And of course on the background, I'm going to go the red as well. And I'm just going to go File and save this. Make sure we save regularly. So here's the new graphic. We've got bleed, we've got everything, we've got spot, and we've got no overprinting because we can see this on the graphic here. And all the colors are stored just in the documents. Now you can rename this from the drop down menu at the top, but I'm just going to keep this nice and simple, or even have several of these and add another document marker in there and renamed. So we're good to go for a PDF file. So I'm just save that, make sure, yes, it is saved. That's fantastic. So we will just simply make the artwork from here. Let's go to artwork. And before we do that, we better just make sure we check and check again, particularly if you're doing things like spot colors. And a good way to do that is make sure there's no more than 2 colors. So if I just come back again, basically from my colors to my documents, here's our 2 colors. If I was just going through and click the different elements here, sometimes, particularly with some of them, like a background, for example, you might find you've got a black stroke. If you've got a black stroke, that's going to be a 3rd color. So really check and make sure that nothing has a stroke on it. And we can see that it's only a color fill here, so I think we're all good. Now, the other thing I mentioned is I didn't overprint. You certainly don't want to overprint a light color onto a dark color, because it will basically just disappear into that 2nd color. Yellow over red will just become red. Choose something like white. So if I click on white, overprinting white will just disappear. So make sure you don't overprint white. Anyway, back to my color here. So I think I'm all good to go. Now there's one other big problem, and it might not be obvious, but here it is here when I click on my graphic. I'll click on to, say, the other color, give it the other color, and that's great. If I'm only using red or yellow, why am I getting this black line? So there may be something that's not quite right in the file. So always check. It's very easy to make a mistake, and particularly if you're learning a new program like Affinity, there's a lot to do in there and to check. So I'm going to come back under Document, because it shouldn't have the black line. What is wrong with that setup? And if I just come back through my document, very easy to make mistakes here. I think I found it. Just in the color here, I've got RGB. I'm certainly going to be using 8-bit images, but this is a print file. So I need to make sure that I've chosen not gray, but CMYK, because we're using color, but it's 8-bit. It's a print format. And I'll go OK. Now if I just go and change the colors, we've still got this black line here. So I'm just going to just delete that for the time being, and I'm going to bring it in again. So I'll just go File, Place. Now by the way, if I go Place, you might not be able to get access to that document. Why? Because you've got something selected. So make sure we deselect and then go File, Place, or making sure you're also in Vector, you go and just choose the graphic here, because we're in the print setup format. So if I come down here and I simply just click on my, remember we're choosing the 8-bit version, which is this one, and I'll just try, and I'm just going to place it in again. So I'll bring it in here and get it sized to what I want. Perfect. And let's have a look at my colors. Now I'll click on the color. Now you see what's happened here? Everything's gone red. So now we're essentially ready to print. So I'm just going to File, save this now, Command 0 just to get it back into screen, and let's go out to our document. So File, we're going to export it. We certainly want PDF for this one. Now I can use pre-press or high quality, but essentially what I'm going to use, I'm going to go to press. And what I also want is not to be too high for compatibility or that degree. I wouldn't go any further than, say, Acrobat 6. You can do layers and transparency in Acrobat 6, so don't go past 6, just to make sure that everybody can print it. Let's see, we're honouring spot colors, definitely want to do that. We're going to include bleed, and we want trim marks and registration marks. You know what? I think we're good to go. So I'm just going to go export now. Robot 2, yes, it's going to be a PDF file, and I'm going to just save that. I'll just replace any other existing ones there, and let's just go and have a look at the file here, Robot 2. I'm just going to control click and just open this one, PDF viewer, like preview in this case on the Mac, just to see how that looks. And that's looking pretty good. So we're not using any extra colors. We can see that's there. As we started off with, if you've got Acrobat, it's brilliant to really check those colors. But nonetheless, that looks good to me, and we're ready to go. Thanks so much for watching.